Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of This and That. Today, I have with me Roberto from Mickey 1878. How are you doing, Roberto?
Morning, good morning. How's everybody? We're great.
Awesome. Tell us, Roberto, why are you a geek?
I am a geek because I'm an 80s kid. And I think a lot of you might agree that we grew up in the best era with, with the Smurfs, Thundercats, Star Wars, Transformers, He-Man, Silverhawks, Punky Brewster, Alf. So all of those things that are now sought after, collectible, bring good memories. You can all relate to something that you either watch on Saturday mornings, you either watch uh, um, when you came home from school. All of those things that take you back to the, I guess you can say, the good old days.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that because, yeah, I remember all those shows. I'm also from the 80s. And, one of the special things, especially for me, I know you're wearing a Star Wars shirt. Star Wars is like my ultimate fandom. My house looks like a Star Wars museum. Like you could probably sell most of the stuff I have around. And one of the cool things about being born, being in the 80s and growing up, is that you actually got to see the movies when they first came out. So no spoilers. You didn't watch them knowing, that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father. You found out when the world found out, and that was really special.
Moment at that moment,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And yeah, like you said, a lot of other super cool uh, shows and toys that are now very sought after. I don't know if you remember Dungeons and Dragons. They had a cartoon series back in the 80s. And I found
You know they exist. I never watched it as a cartoon series.
it was so good. And I found the other day at Plasticon, which I remember you were there. I found the action figures and I'm like, and they were cheap too. And I brought them all home. Everything he had, I'm like, give it to me. Just give it to me. And I know that's kind of what you do. Why don't you tell everybody what Mickey 1878 does?
We it is a team, my wife and I, and what we do is that we wanted to bring an experience that not everybody's doing. We wanted to we wanted to say, hey, we understand that you like certain lineups, and we understand that you might not feel comfortable displaying them at your workplace, being seen as a collector of toys. So we decided that we were going to grab something, and we were going to grab and create something that will attract maybe new buyers, maybe new collectors. Maybe not everybody is a Lego collector, not
Mhm.
everybody is a toy collector, but I think we found something that people might identify with without being called a geek, without being called a nerd, without being called a collector or hoarder. So we put together. I don't know if I can show it on screen. Um, so you said talk about Star Wars. Um, let me take out the cover. So basically, what we did is that we grab a Star Wars figure and we put it in an acrylic case, and we added a background, and then we included, and then we even it is a fully possible uh, Lego figure.
So you can take it out. I see.
And then we also added the effect of the original card back. Oops, this way. So the way that you would have bought it back in the days, and you'll rip it from the bubble, but then you can still get your figure and add it to your set, and whenever you feel, you can put it back in and seal it and move on.
That is awesome. And how did you come up with this idea? Were you into Legos or was it like somebody, was your wife into Legos and you decided to go this route?
Well, I have to give credit to my friend. He's a friend of mine. He goes under the name of Cantina Customs,
Okay.
and he's the one that came up with the idea, and he has been doing business with it for a little while. Um, and he said to me that, hey, I know that you enjoy what you're doing. I see what you're doing with the toys, because I was doing other things besides this before. And he said, why don't you give it a shot?
Okay.
And we brought it home, and then my wife and I was said, you know what? It's not only about Star Wars;
Hmm.
it's about many things. So we included. We are now working horror lineups.
Yeah, October.
We got a couple of shows coming up. So we got Freddy Krueger.
Good.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
we have several lineups, and I've been fortunate to, to have the vision, the
Hmm.
support group. I depend on my kids because they are the ones that are keeping up with times. And it's like, hey, Dad, this anime show is doing well. Hey, and then it's like my daughter has her input, my son has his input, my other son. I have three kids. My other son is like, hey, Dad, how about you do Batman, but not the regular Batman, or do Spider Man, but not the regular Spider Man? Miles Morales. That's what's Miles Morales is the most active Spider Man right now, and not only Miles Morales the movies, but there's like he plays a game that has like 50 different suits of Spider Man. I never knew that many Spider Mans existed.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
all about connecting with something that people already likes.
Hmm.
They can take it, but then in such a small form that doesn't even take space in
Hmm.
a room, in a collection, in sitting in an office, and because sometimes we like toys, but we cannot bring them with ourselves to work, right?
Or play with them at work. But like that, we can display it. Now, you mentioned that before you started doing these awesome Lego figures, you were doing something else. So, how did Mickey 1878 got started? What were you doing at first?
Well, thank you. We I have always been a toy lover. In fact, I worked at Toys R Us in my early years, coming out of high school, and I love toys. I love making the lines for the midnight release.
Hmm.
It has always been a thing, and then I figure out early that if I grab enough toys and resell them on eBay, I will have
Hmm.
money to then fund my addiction for toys.
Let me ask you this, because my sister worked in retail. She worked at the Gap. And I remember that she would get her paycheck and immediately spend it at the Gap and buy clothes. She would never bring any money home. So, was that similar to what happened to you at Toys R Us? Because I know I would have done that. I worked at Burger King, so I couldn't really bring any hamburgers home.
Right? You know what? It is it is crazy, but I was a Star Wars collector at that time.
Okay.
I started on payday. I'll come home with bags of action figures.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was young. I was still in high school. I was living with my mom, so it was like you know, I
You
didn't
could.
have bills, I guess. And back in the days, you didn't have to worry about cell phone bills.
Hmm.
You didn't have to worry about a lot of things that now we have to, now we have to worry.
Right. Right. Now is the time to make profits so you can actually afford the toys. And how did you go from being a toy collector to decide I'm going to open my own business and I'm going to start selling that? Was that your idea? Was it your wife's idea? Was it together? Was it somebody else that inspired you to do that?
Well, so hear me out. My my oldest son, he's a DC lover. He loves Superman, the Flash. That is his favorite character. And I remember back in the days, there was a series on Cartoon Network, I think it was. It was called Justice League Unlimited.
Okay.
Actual character that he loved, it was Hawkman,
Okay.
not available anywhere. And I said, well, the only option is for me to get it on eBay. And I went to eBay and it was retailing for about $30. Now, mind you, 15 years ago, $30 was way more money.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. I mean, GI Joes were $5 a piece, so $30 for a Hawkman, it was quite some money. And then I happened to go to Kmart, and they had three of them.
For $5?
Well, if I can get it for $5, and they are going for $30 on eBay, why? So I ended up there. I mean, I started there.
Okay.
Come home, and I'm like, hey, come to my, we took some ugly pictures, but things started to sell.
That's
After that, and then we moved on, and it has always been about toys.
mhm.
I have always said that toys are for kids. Toys are meant to be played with. Yes, we collect them, but are for kids. And there has never been a shortage of me, of my wife's like, hey, what do we have in storage that we can give for somebody's birthday? So,
That's awesome. I mean, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I've had other people on the podcast, and it's always been out of some kind of necessity. Like you needed a toy, so you went to get it, and then you saw the opportunity, and that's kind of how you started. Tell me about the name. Where does Mickey 1878 come from?
yeah. So we wanted to create the name, and Mickey was taken. The only option was to add characters to Mickey, and then we ended up with 1878. That it has no meaning. Uh, but fortunately and unfortunately, we created a following. We have that many feedbacks with Mickey 1878, and eBay does not offer, or at least not to my knowledge, the ability or the possibility to change characters on your username. So basically, either if you like it, perfect. If not, then you're stuck with it unless
Hmm.
you create the whole new account. And it does not allow to transfer the feedback. And like I said, we became a top-rated seller. We have a lot of followers. We have done a lot of good things with eBay, and we couldn't deviate from that. So then when we also opened a Whatnot account.
Okay.
We also sell in that platform, and we brought Mickey with us.
Okay. So
then,
Mickey
then
it is.
we started doing the live shows or the events, and then he's like, "Well, Mickey's coming with us as well." We can't be like, we can't be. Well, we are called here, we are called this on this platform, but we are this somewhere else.
Yep. Yeah.
We did not want to confuse our customers.
Right.
Like so, Mickey 78 it is.
I totally understand because the same thing happened to me on YouTube when I first started with the channel. It was open under a friend's email account, who's no longer my friend. But luckily, she left me the password and everything. But my email is like a mess. It's like GARS. It has nothing to do with Meeple Village, and I'm stuck with it. And I also have the same issue with my email. I my email is rsj, which is the letters of a famous, well, back then a popular singer that I used to follow. She no longer sings, but I'm still stuck with her name on my email account because everybody knows it and it's pretty easy. It's just a couple letters, so I get it. So you're stuck with it. You know what? It's an interesting name. I always thought, oh my gosh, these people have been open since 1878. Like they've been doing this for generations.
At first, I thought that 1878 was when Mickey was invented, but
No, it's not.
1930s, 1920 something.
Yeah, yeah. You're before Mickey. You're and
But
that's okay. But let me tell you, it has a nice ring to it. Like I do think it calls attention to it. Like, oh, you were interested in, hey, what is this all about? And you have a lot of vintage stuff too. And like you said, stuff from the 80s, stuff from like, I know this is 1800s, but but you do still have a lot of stuff from the past. And that when I saw your name at cons and stuff, that's what I thought. Oh, they have like old stuff. Let me go check it out. So it works. And I know that you have a mix of both because, like you said, your kids are helping you move forward into whatever is popular now, which is great. So tell me, who it's your wife and you. Are you the ones that are usually run the cons and the store, or are your kids also involved in that as well?
no, my kids are not involved. Usually, me and my wife.
Okay. Okay.
I take the opportunity to see my daughter when she doesn't have she doesn't have school,
Hmm.
or but it's mainly my wife and myself. We,
And tell me, how is the process to prepare for a con? Because see, we just go to them and we see you all set up and we just go buy things. But I'm sure there's a process to getting from wherever you have all your toys to the amazing setup that we see at the con. So what is that process like?
the process. Well, there are a couple of groups of organizers of
Okay.
events. You might know a couple of them, and basically they put out the word, "Hey, we are going or we are having an event." Let's say 3 6 months from now. So for us is we evaluate whether it's the atmosphere that we either feel comfortable or that is going to be our crowd.
Hmm.
Okay, and then once we make a decision, no, once we evaluate if it's worth going, then the second one is how far is it? How
Hmm.
is it? Because there's a lot of cost involved in not just bringing your product, but there and staying.
Okay.
Some events last 3 days, like UltraCon.
Hmm.
Some events only last one day, but then you have to put into consideration that the event might start at 10 in the morning, setup starts at 6 in the morning, but I'm 2 hours away from that place. How early do I need to leave my house and load up my vehicle, our pickup truck, and go to that event and set up and be ready for when the doors open? So
Okay.
it's a process, and it is an investment. Uh,
Hmm.
it is an investment, and you have to evaluate whether it's worth your time, worth the amount of money that you pay to be part of it. And football at the we do it for fun. We enjoy what we do, but at the end of the day,
Right. So is it usually better if it's a 3 day con because you can sell for 3 days straight and you keep your stuff there and the next day you just show up again. You don't have to load anything back in. Am I right about? Yeah.
it is better because that guarantees that if somebody feels comfortable, if an organizer feels comfortable that
Hmm.
they're for 3 days and enough customers are going to come by,
Yeah.
it is worth it. It is worth it. I have been to 3 days and they have been well worth it.
Hmm.
UltraCon being by far the most profitable so
Okay.
far this year. I have been to big ones this year. The 2024 has been our year.
Okay, great, good, good to hear. And 2025, I'm sure will be even better. Let me
But
ask you about because I know you. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you do custom Lego figures. So, what if somebody wants a specific Lego figure that you don't have? Let's say at UltraCon they don't see it, but they really want that one. What happens then?
it is. My wife says that I believe a lot in her. We, we have a laser machine, and we can try to get as close as possible to what you're asking.
Hmm.
It just gets a little bit complicated when people says, "I want the red tie, not the blue tie. Uh,
Okay.
I want the background." But we can do it. We can always work on it.
Mhm.
We love to be challenged. We love to be challenged. We love to be different. That's
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
what you know.
you're
We
definitely. Now, if because I know my viewers might not all be in Florida, which is where we're located. What if somebody from out of state wants that goes to your Instagram and wants a mini? How do they get the process started?
well the first process, the DM me, DM what is it that you're looking for,
Hmm.
and we will evaluate and see if it's doable. We take payment, and then it takes about 10 days.
Okay.
The process about 10 days, from payment received. We do ask to be considerable. Like I said, if I already have the red stuff, but we deliver a custom order at UltraCon.
Mm, okay.
Very emotional, and we were very deliver uh, a custom order for a father who has lost his son. It
That's
was,
awesome.
but it was well worth it.
Yeah, I'm sure. So tell us how to find you. Where can we find you? What social media platforms or where can we find you on eBay so that people can go look at your awesome stuff?
Thank you. Our eBay platform is Mickey78 and no underscore. On
Okay.
Instagram is underscore Mickey8 underscore. Okay. And on whatnot, Mickey87.
Okay.
believe it's free.
Okay,
We're
perfect.
supposed to
And,
be,
and
but
you're gonna okay. We're gonna have the links down there so you guys can just easily click on them and go check it out. All right. Well, let me ask you the three questions I always ask people that come on the podcast because I'm very interested, since you're from the '80s, to hear your answers. So, what is your favorite movie, Roberto?
my favorite movie, I have it right here, is Full.
Ooh, okay. Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah,
Okay.
and is if if you have not watched it or not experienced it, it's moving. It's a very good movie. Not, not as many nations, but it's a very good movie.
Okay. 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 Yeah. No, it's a popular movie. So, all right. And what is your favorite song?
It's from Don Omar.
Don Omar. Okay.
Taboo,
What's the name?
taboo.
Okay, I don't know that one. I don't listen to this. That's reggaeton, right? I'm not. Yeah, I'm not big on reggaeton. All right, sounds great. And now, of course, the last question that I always ask, because this podcast is sponsored by, like you can see, a board game channel, Meeple Village. So, what is your favorite board game?
Unpredictable. Monopoly.
Monopoly.
Yes.
Okay, okay. I think out of all the people that have come in the podcast, Monopoly has been the most named board game. Uh,
I think it's because I'm gonna say it like this because it's dumbed down.
and that's what I was talking to Anthony. Anthony from Rampam. We were talking about how we're geeks, right? But everybody kind of has their own niche. So you're into toys. Not that I don't like toys. You can see I have a few toys. But if you look at my shelves, they're full of board games. So that's where I'm at. I'm a board game collector. I'm a board game connoisseur. I have a channel where I run board games. And what I found with the people that come to the podcast is that even though they're geeks, they don't know about board games. They don't know that there's a Star Wars board game or many Star Wars board games, a Harry Potter board game. Like if you look, Rebellion, Star Wars Rebellion, that's a two-player game where you play with the Star Wars and you try to find the hidden rebel base. No, most people know the usual that you grew up with: Monopoly, those kind of names like Ludo for us Spanish speakers.
I think what influences the board game is that every board game comes with a new set of rules
Right. Yeah.
and laws that you have to be played by.
Yes.
And I don't think that we are, as humans, we condition ourselves to learn something new.
Hmm. You bring a great point, and that's exactly why I started the channel. It's because I wanted to play more games. My brother was the one; it's all his fault. So he influenced me into playing board games. But yes, I didn't. I even though I like reading, and sometimes these board games can be complex. I wanted some visuals. I wanted, okay, let me see someone else playing it, or let me see someone else explaining it to me with visuals with a video, so that I can, when I read the rule book, learn it faster. And so that's when I said, hey, listen, I have that need, kind of like what you said. You had your son had a need; he wanted a toy, and I had that need to like learn the games. And I said, well, you know what? I can teach others because there's so many games. Like there's thousands upon thousands of
I,
different games, and yeah, like you said, it's complicated to learn the rules. So let me start a place where people can come watch me play it, watch me explain the rules, and then make it easier on themselves to actually get the game on the table. Because yes, I played Monopoly as a kid, but if you ask me to play Monopoly now, I'd be like, you can present to me the best theme Monopoly game, because there's a lot of themes, right? Even if you say, I even actually somebody got me the Star Wars episode, I think it was episode 1 or 2, Monopoly, and I kept it for like 2 months, and then I gave it away because it's like, I don't want to play Monopoly when there's so many other better games out there. But I know that a lot of people know about them. Like when I go to the cons, I'm always like, is anybody selling games? Like, does anybody here have a board game? And I usually find like one or two. That's it.
you
So
know,
hopefully, mhm,
obscure game, not obscure. It's just I think it's rare,
mhm,
uh, and I thought I saw value in it because my wife likes to watch Doctor Who,
uh-huh.
and I found the board game, the Doctor Who board game.
Yeah.
and not a whole lot of people find value in board games.
Yes.
I mean, I have had access to a lot of board games, but then unfortunately, is that one person who's willing to pick it up at the store, and
Hmm.
that,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it boils down to us not wanting to learn.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. But there are board gamers out there. There are groups. There are ways to learn. We're very again we're geeks, and there's if I have to say one thing about people that are considered geeks is that we're the nicest people. We're weird. We're unique. But we're the type of people that say we like what we like and we don't care what you think about what we like. We are gonna like it no matter what you think. So if we like G.I. Joe and that's you think it's for kids, I don't care. I don't care that I'm an adult and I'm into it. So yes, we are the nicest people. So yeah. So anyways, I think everything has to take its time. I do believe that board games, like now when I mentioned, for example, Settles of Catan, a lot of people at least have heard the name. Oh, Settles of Catan, I heard that. I've never played it, but I've heard of it. Carcassonne is another one that I know people might have heard of it. Dominion. There's some couple games that, even though, and now you can find them at Target and Walmart and all those places. So that has also helped to increase the amount of gamers. Maybe we can make you a gamer eventually. We'll see.
Hey, I know we are winding down at this. Unfortunately, we also live in the era of instant gratification.
Yes.
And the board game, in order to be played, it takes developing. It takes
Yes.
play it, and we do not have the attention span
Yeah.
to sit down for a couple of hours without a distraction.
Right.
Uh, and
But when you do, it's a great time to interact with others, and I do find the value on that. Even though I do play a lot of games solo, when I do get to play with other people, especially groups of people, you get that interaction that you don't get when you're playing a video game and you're stuck in front of the TV, just oh, don't talk to me, yeah, don't distract me. So, but you're right, and even me, like setting a game up and putting all the pieces together when I can go on my VR and stick up my goggles and play a board game, but the game's is already set up and all I got to do is so I totally understand. But it is my duty to tell people about board games and to try to get more people into the hobby, because once you discover it, it just has so much potential. So
I'm in agreement with you. Uh, Being a father of three kids, they all like different games,
mhm.
and we tried to do it like the family game night. But it was always that, oh, why you got to play your game but not my game?
Okay. Yeah, that can happen too. I have the same problem. I want to play a specific one, and everybody else wants to play the other one, so we're fine. And then it takes so long that by the time you're done with that, you don't want to play another one. You just yeah. So
Fun and
yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. But we're trying, and in the meantime, we're collecting toys as a side hobby. And we go to Ricky 1878 for that, because you do have really cool stuff. I saw actually on UltraCon, I saw your display, and it's getting so much bigger and better. I love it. I do know that's why I said that 2025 is going to be even better, because you keep expanding and creating these awesome things. Like I even saw Taylor Swift. I think you had. It was yeah. It's crazy.
different ones.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that's great because there's like we talked about, there's a wide array of people with different likes and different interests, and you're trying to cover as many as possible. So
We're
good
trying.
job. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and guys, go check out Nikki 1878.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having
Play
me.
more games.
Tonight let me just dream.